liquid, not because I think Thieves Laundry liquid doesn't clean my laundry. It does clean my laundry. It's brilliant all by itself, and I think we all know the third of the bottle is enough, and you add that to water, and that's a hack in itself. But two things in our household: my husband and I both work in construction, so our clothes are really filthy. So every single day we wash our clothes. My teenage boy, we've talked about him a lot today, he stinks and he sweats profusely. So much so that his school uniform actually needs to be washed every single day, and so does his pyjamas, because he just sweats so badly. I taught my kids to do their own laundry from about the age of 12. So in my house, I know. So I don't launder for my children at all. I don't launder their bed sheets, I don't launder their towels, I don't launder their flannels. We all do our own. But what I do is I have a laundry station set up at home so that our soaps and our laundry liquids and everything are made. So DIY for me is fantastic. Sorry, I do get breathless when I'm nervous.
You're fine.
And my favourite hack is the containers. So I use that for my wet and dry storage. This mix is a 10 litre mix. So if you've got one of these from Kmart or somewhere, you're probably only going to have a 4 litre container. I'll just grab my notes. Sorry.
That's good.
They're on sale everywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
They're hard to get though, because I tried to get one to bring in today. Have they got them?
Spotlight for Hexham.
So this is mine, that's why it actually looks grotty, because I had to tip my ingredients out into a bucket and then give it a rinse out and bring it in. So it's a well-used container. When you do, if you are going to do a hack like this, the first thing you have to learn, as Katie will knows,
I know too.
is check the tap. Because it doesn't come, it leaks the first time you use it. So take it out and reseat it and make sure that it all fits in really well. The recipe is on the forum under Amanda Miranda, if you remember her name. I went through quite a few different recipes before I loved this one. I have actually since changed it, and I'll go through that now. It is basically our caps, and this is a good little measure for when using these recycled, is that cap is just under 1/4 of a cup, sorry, not quite 1/4 of a cup. So for recipes, I find that really handy. I know that when I use my bicarb, I don't have to go get something from the kitchen. The cap is roughly 1/4 of a cup, just under.
That's good to know.
It is, it's handy. So with the recipe, I do the dry powders first. I use washing soda and bicarbonate soda, the two different sodas. Bicarb and washing soda are both very alkaline. Washing soda is very highly alkaline, it's got a pH of about 11. Borax is about 9.5 pH, so they are quite caustic, but in low level like this, it's quite okay. And the reason I use them is they do help neutralise the pH in our water. Perth water is very hard. I don't like using it as a laundry booster. Like people have sort of said to me, why don't you just use your Thieves and then have a dry powder laundry booster? I find that by actually diluting them first in hot water, you don't get so much of a build up in your machine, and it just seems to work better. So I use those mixed with bicarb, which is only a pH of forgotten, but it's mild. And those three together work really, really well for softening your water, getting out stains, things like that. If you also then add vinegar into your rinse cycle of your machine, the combination of those with your vinegar as your softening agent, and unfortunately it's quite a lot for our water. It's actually about 2 cups of white vinegar, and again, has to be that Cornwall's vinegar. Doesn't say that there, but that is what I use, Cornwall's white vinegar. So it is quite a lot, but if you put 2 cups in your rinse cycle, you will get that brightening, that whitening oxy action happening as a result of the reaction of the vinegar with the sodas as well. So I was looking for my measuring cup. I use 1/4 of a cup of borax for a 4 litre, the smaller containers. Mine's obviously a double. So I just do 2 of those. quarter of a cup of washing soda, but again, my container's double, so 2 of those. And quarter of a cup of bicarb. Always dissolve your powders first, otherwise you'll get separation in your mix.
You need a lab coat, I reckon, Susie.
And sometimes you can have a little bit more.
That's all right, acceptable.
Fine, still works all the time. And it doesn't matter how much water you dissolve it with. But you do make sure that you really dissolve the powders so that there's absolutely nothing left in there. There's no granules or lumps. I don't do it direct in these containers because I don't think they handle the heat quite so well. So I always I'm usually at my laundry sink when I do this, so I just have this in the sink and I turn the tap on and I just put a little bit of cold water in first. I'll go through in a minute water too. So I used to use just tap water, and the great thing about using just tap water in this recipe is that it ended up costing me, I did a cost out on it. With just tap water, it ended up costing me 8 cents a wash. So, but it's not as great as using distilled water. So if you go the extra hog and get the distilled water, I can't read without my glasses, it's actually double. So the recipe's double because I spend, on that size bottle, it cost me $7 for distilled water. Expensive. But that's 16 cents a wash, so that's not too bad. And so I'm using quarter of a cup. I have a 10 kilo washing machine. I use a quarter of a cup. If I am doing, my hubby and I, our work clothes, our really dirty stuff, then I'll do 2 quarter cups in there as well. So that takes it up to 32 cents a wash.
I don't know.
Do you need essential oils?
So I do, yeah. You don't have to, obviously, but again, I like it, and I just use whatever I've got. I used to try and, use lemongrass because my son smells, or, I don't bother anymore. I just use whatever I've got. If I've got lots and lots of citrus fresh, then that's what I'll use. So I tend to use a lot of my cheaper citrus oils and just put them in. You will find your essential oils will float on the top of the mix, but nothing else will separate. Yeah, so quarter of a cup of this, but again, I've got an 8 litre container, or 10 litre container, so I'm going to do double. And it is 2 tablespoons, and I think we all know that's a tablespoon. We've all burnt that one, so just to take the lid off. I got my my delivery today on a Sunday. Turn the camera off, I'm going to use my teeth. And which is good because I actually didn't have, I don't know how I managed to do it, but I ran out of Thieves household cleaner. Alright, so that's it, and now we top it with water, and I'm obviously not going to do that because I have to transport it home, so I'll just leave it at that much, but that's the laundry hack. And the other thing too is with recycling the bottles, if you've ever tried to soak our labels off, they don't come off. I have discovered that if you, well, no, and you don't need to worry about lemon, but I have found that if you get a microfiber cloth and for some reason grab it on the edge, it rips straight off. Don't soak it.
That's
There you
great.
go, they're all my handy tips.
That's great.
Welcome.
Susie, I've got one question. Soaking. Do you pre-soak at all?
Yes, so, and especially for whites, I definitely pre-soak, and I have one of these bottles at home. I've got 2 of these, one for whites and one for colours, and I actually just use these products to soak. So pre-soaking is really the old-fashioned loosening the dirt, and with whites, when we buy white clothing, it all comes already pre-blued, what they call bluing, and in America you can buy a product called Mrs. Stewart's bluing liquid.
Right.
And it is organic and it is natural, but we can't get it over here. I think you can order it through Amazon, and you can re-blue your clothing if you want to, which makes it has that optical white. The other one is fluorescing, which is, again, it's adding in oxygen, bleach and things into your wash, just so you get that reflective whiteness in clothing. Clothing isn't white, it's yellow, but your products are put in to give that whiteness. So for me, for my family, and especially with my teenage son, because white socks are trendy, white t-shirts are trendy, everything's white, but he's really disgusting. So I have a pre-made soap, and I literally just have Thieves Laundry liquid, Thieves household cleaner, and I have Thieves fruit and veggie soap in that mix. And that's all I have in it, topped with distilled water in one of these old bottles, and he knows to put a capful in the laundry sink, fill it up with water and chuck his whites in, and then he washes the next day. So we do pre-soak a lot of clothes.
That's great.
Anything big, like our bath mats and our bed sheets, and we do the same as Fiona, we do the stripping.
In the bath.
In the bath, yeah.
Wow.
How old is that?
16.
Okay, just keeping in mind.
Yeah. Horrible.
Mine 15 and 17. Are you thinking quite good to match up?
It's by accident.
I think we're all going to have to watch the video to actually listen to what she said, because we're all a bit gobsmacked that all your children do their own washing.
Oh no, it's the only way to go. Yeah.
I'm impressed. That's
So
it.
in regards to your pre-soak, that's the recipe that you put on the forum?
No, so I can put that on the forum?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I had put it on there a long time ago, but I'll bring it back up anyway.
Maybe just add it to
Yeah.
today's, I put up some,
Yeah.
you know, today's post of a photo.